Breaking news today. Eric Trump has responded to major banks closing their doors on him by launching a significant cryptocurrency deal, directly challenging the influence of corporate elites. Could this audacious move signal the beginning of a financial revolution? Stay with us for more updates.
Hello, and welcome to That News Show, where we discuss the latest facts, fakes, and hypocrisy as reported by the legacy media. Let's roll the tape.
Fox News reports that Eric Trump has announced a staggering $1.5 billion cryptocurrency deal, one of the largest in history. This comes after being systematically excluded by the same financial institutions that profess to champion diversity and inclusion. Tonight we ask, is this about managing risk or is it about punishing dissent? When banks close hundreds of accounts overnight without warning, it's not capitalism. It's political warfare, orchestrated by the globalist elites who controlled the previous administration and now support radical socialists in New York City. Here's the twist: the Trump family isn't backing down. Instead, they're creating an alternative financial system that eludes censorship by woke corporations and manipulation by bureaucrats. This story isn't just about business. It's a cautionary tale about the dangers of unchecked power. If this can happen to a former president's family, what could happen to you? Why are the Democrats who claim to champion the underdog so keen to give more power to unaccountable banks and tech giants? Tonight, we'll explore how Eric Trump's initiative could disrupt the status quo, challenge the establishment, and indeed shake everything up. In America, power should reside with the people, not with unelected corporate executives or socialist ideologues. And when the system attempts to suppress dissent, real Americans stand up and fight back. Here we go again.
The guy is holy scary, and I think it's a disastrous thing for this state, which has already had an exodus of people out of it.
And Don Jr., when you talk about people that got to make financial decisions, well, the rich don't care, the successful don't care, but take a look, they do move when they're being pushed. For example, the proposal is a 2% tax of income over the year. The top city rate is 5.9%, so add on to that. The city and state, 16.8%. Federal, state, and city rate, 53.8%. So basically, if you're seeing these numbers, private company or public, what are you going to do?
It's no surprise that many are leaving California, given the state's recent trends. Over the last few years, California has experienced a net loss of over 1 million residents, with 4 million departing in the last 2 decades alone. This isn't just a statistic, it's a clear warning sign. The state's policies, which seem to penalize success, are driving away the very individuals who fuel the economy. Piling on new taxes, particularly targeting high earners and business owners, sends a harmful message to every entrepreneur, job creator, and family striving to build a future. Your efforts are not valued here. Consequently, they relocate their businesses, investments, and tax contributions to states that embrace economic freedom and reward ambition. The slight increase in population some politicians celebrate is largely due to international migration, not a real reversal of the ongoing exodus of American families and businesses. For instance, San Francisco continues to lose residents, and despite some growth, the state struggles to return to its pre-pandemic population levels. Also, escalating living costs, rising crime rates, and increasing regulatory burdens make it increasingly difficult for ordinary people to thrive. Worryingly, state leaders fail to acknowledge that their policies contribute to this decline. Instead of adapting in response to the mass departure of productive citizens, they impose more taxes, increase red tape, and intensify their hostility towards dissent. The consequences are predictable: a dwindling middle class, a weakened business sector, and a state increasingly reliant on federal bailouts and international migration for stability. This crisis goes beyond mere numbers. It concerns the future of a state that was once a symbol of opportunity and freedom. If current policies persist, the exodus will only accelerate, reducing California to a shadow of its former self. History shows that when pushed too far, the productive class doesn't just complain, they vote with their feet.
In the first term, you had people that were coming in, they're kicking the can down. Okay, we're going to wait Trump out. This time, we had 4 years of hell that we went through. We found out who the people were that were actually fighters, people who believed in the America First movement. He brought them all on. So now that you have a cabinet that's actually aligned with the president, not trying to subvert him, you can see what's being done. And what's really great now, for the first time in probably history, the Republicans actually have a great bench for the future.
With the cabinet now united under the America First movement, the administration has achieved new policy execution in urgency, surprising many Washington insiders. In just the first 100 days, over 86% of the America First agenda has been advanced or enacted, marking a historic pace that has transformed the lives of many who felt neglected for decades. This success stems from having proactive leaders in place, rather than bureaucrats who resist change and maintain the status quo. The contrast with the previous administration is stark, where entrenched interests focus on protecting globalist priorities and expanding governmental reach. But today, the administration prioritizes restoring accountability, defending U.S. territorial integrity, boosting American energy, and stepping back from international organizations that favor foreign interests over our own. The America First investment policy exemplifies this shift, now prioritizing American workers and businesses over the interests of adversarial nations like China. The impact on policy has been significant. Immigration enforcement has transitioned from a mere talking point to a coordinated national effort, with new executive actions that effectively protect our borders and hold sanctuary jurisdictions accountable. The refugee admissions program now aligns with American interests rather than globalist quotas, and federal disaster relief is contingent upon compliance with federal law, ensuring local governments cannot flout national sovereignty. What's truly remarkable is the transformation within the Republican Party, shaped by a new generation of committed, principled conservatives ready to lead. This evolution is the result of 4 years of challenges that left only the most dedicated fighters in positions of influence. In contrast, the Democratic Party persists with policies that have proven ineffective: open borders, unchecked spending, and using federal agencies against political opponents. Their adherence to radical ideas has had harmful effects on American cities and families, with far-left candidates exacerbating the decline by driving away job creators and eroding the foundations of economic opportunity. Economically, the administration's support for innovation, particularly in digital assets and cryptocurrency, indicates a commitment to breaking free from the constraints of politicized financial institutions. The previous administration's debanking of conservative organizations highlighted the vulnerability of our financial system to ideological bias. Now, with new executive orders promoting transparency, Americans are witnessing real efforts to safeguard their economic participation, irrespective of political affiliation. This new era of policy clarity and administrative discipline starkly opposes the globalist approach that once dominated Washington. Seat on American sovereignty, economic freedom, and individual rights. These principles resonate with everyday citizens, not just the political elite. With a cabinet and leadership team genuinely committed to these values, the results are evident, and the momentum continues to build as we prepare for the next generation of conservative leadership.
I don't notice them talking about the hundreds of millions of dollars we had to spend fighting lawfare. That doesn't matter, right? That was all nonsense, right? Russia, you name it. Impeachment 1, hoax 2, 3, 4, 5, infinity. No one talks about that. They weaponized the entire full force of the United States government against our family.
The weaponization of government power against political opponents is a direct assault on the principles of due process and equal protection. This pattern, marked by endless investigations and manufactured scandals, often under dubious claims involving foreign actors, was particularly notable during the previous Democratic administration. These tactics not only failed to produce meaningful accountability, but also eroded public trust and diverted resources from American prosperity. Fox News has consistently highlighted the dangers of politicized lawfare and the campaign to silence dissent through financial and regulatory means. Their coverage, especially of the Trump family's debanking, has spotlighted how major banks and corporations can be used to punish dissenters. While Fox News excels in visual storytelling using interesting graphics and interviews, it could enhance its reporting by incorporating more independent expert analysis and direct data to better illustrate financial discrimination against conservatives. It is crucial for Fox News to adopt a more systematic approach to fact-checking. Their skepticism of establishment narratives is understandable, given the repeated failures of Democratic-led investigations and the lack of evidence in many scandals. Viewers deserve a clear distinction between opinion and documented fact. For instance, the allegations related to Russia, which fueled costly legal battles, have collapsed under scrutiny. But these failures and their financial impacts are seldom acknowledged by mainstream outlets. Objectivity is another area for improvement. While Fox News effectively exposes excesses by Democratic politicians and globalist elites, it should also examine Republican leaders who may deviate from conservative principles or adopt interventionist policies that do not align with American interests. The recent coverage of the Trump administration's shift toward non-interventionism and economic nationalism has been strong, but the network should continue to challenge government overreach regardless of the party involved. The Trump administration's response to debanking through executive orders that hold financial institutions accountable for politically motivated discrimination highlights a commitment to restoring fairness and transparency in the American financial system. This contrasts sharply with the previous administration's use of regulatory agencies as tools of partisan warfare. The defense of property rights, free speech, and economic liberty marks a significant victory for constitutional governance and the rule of law. Fox News' segments on the rise of digital assets and the Trump family's engagement with cryptocurrency have made these complex topics accessible to viewers. The use of charts, interviews, and real-life case studies enhances understanding, though more comparative analysis of financial technologies and regulatory approaches could further improve their coverage. In summary, Fox News plays a crucial role in exposing the dangers of lawfare, debanking, and government overreach. Their strongest coverage combines first-hand accounts with clear visual explanations and a commitment to challenging establishment narratives. To enhance their impact, the network should refine its fact-checking processes, diversify its expert sources, and maintain a critical stance toward all forms of government and corporate overreach. The fight for American values, due process, free enterprise, and political pluralism requires vigilant media as well as vigilant politicians.
We said we were going to do this. I mean, we said we were going to do this because, again, the fear of the American public that they were going to be debanked, that they weren't going to be able to get their credit card payment processed because they're buying a gun. You know, the Second Amendment's kind of a big deal. That was a very real fear.
The fear that Americans could be denied the ability to process a credit card payment for exercising their Second Amendment rights is a real concern, stemming from unchecked corporate overreach and the politicization of our financial system. When ordinary citizens worry that purchasing a firearm might subject them to financial scrutiny or even denial of service, it signals an erosion of our basic freedoms by institutions that should remain neutral and accountable to the public, not ideological agendas. This anxiety extends beyond gun owners, affecting the entire economy and influencing how families manage their finances and make purchasing decisions. Consider the average household grappling with rising costs for essentials like groceries and gas, now also worried that their lawful purchases might jeopardize their access to banking services. This is not a free market, it's a market manipulated by political interests. For small businesses, particularly in the firearms industry, such discriminatory practices threaten their livelihoods and stifle entrepreneurship, undermining the economic dynamism that sets America apart. The Trump administration took decisive action to end politically motivated debanking, marking a significant turning point. By requiring banks to report and eliminate discriminatory policies, it restored fairness and transparency to the financial sector, ensuring that no American is punished for their beliefs or lawful activities. This contrasts sharply with the previous administration, which allowed and sometimes encouraged the weaponization of financial institutions against conservatives and those out of step with progressive orthodoxy, chilling free speech, property rights, and full participation in the economy, all core American values. The broader economic implications are profound. When banks and payment processors become tools of political enforcement, consumer confidence erodes. People start to question the safety of their savings, the privacy of their transactions, and whether access to credit is determined by political affiliations rather than financial responsibility. This uncertainty discourages investment, innovation, and the risk-taking essential for long-term growth. An infographic could illustrate this chain reaction. Debanking leads to reduced access to credit, which in turn diminishes consumer spending and business investment, ultimately slowing job creation and wage growth. Every sector, from retail to manufacturing to tech, feels the impact, translating into less financial security and fewer opportunities for families to build wealth. The rise of alternative financial technologies like cryptocurrency and stablecoins is a direct response to these abuses. The Trump family's pivot to digital assets, following systematic debanking by major financial institutions, demonstrates how innovation flourishes when traditional systems fail to maintain fairness. These new tools offer Americans a way to bypass politicized gatekeepers and regain control over their finances, reinforcing the principle that economic freedom is inseparable from personal liberty. This debate goes beyond financial services. It's about who gets to participate in American life. The current administration's policies are rebalancing the scales, protecting the rights of law-abiding citizens, and sending a clear message to big banks. Your job is to serve the American people, not police their beliefs. As states like California intensify restrictive gun laws and punitive taxes, driving away businesses and families, it becomes evident that the real threat to prosperity is not too much freedom, but too little. The solution lies not in more regulation or centralized control, but in a renewed commitment to the principles of free enterprise, individual rights, and a government that serves its citizens, not rules over them. Can you believe this? What we are witnessing extends beyond the targeting of a single family or business. It represents a systematic use of corporate power to punish dissent and silence those who challenge the establishment. Under the previous administration, there was rampant collusion between the government and major banks, a war on free speech, and a blatant disregard for the rights of everyday Americans. Now, with President Trump in office, we have a leader who is prepared to confront these globalist agendas and uphold the values that built this nation. Consider this: if Eric Trump can be debanked, who is safe? The true threat to democracy is not disagreement. It's the ruthless enforcement of conformity by those who claim to protect it. The future belongs to those who refuse to be intimidated. We look forward to reading your comments. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. We will see you on the next one.